Congressman and House Financial Services Committee member Lance Gooden. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for joining us. How would you assess the border today, given that Kamala Harris just yesterday or the other day said that it's a secure border?
It's crazy to say anything like that. The border is very much open. It has been since the day after Donald Trump left office. And I think your mayors in places like New York and Chicago are waking up to that. They probably still won't admit it, but we're seeing these crisis situations move to places like Chicago, New York, and soon to be Martha's Vineyard. And I'm hoping some of these liberal leaders will wake up and realize that what their vice president and president have told them for the last year and a half is just not accurate.
Well, I mean, it's not accurate, and I'm wondering if the White House is working against us in terms of this situation. I spoke with a border source last night, and he told me that there is an agreement in place between the U.S. and Mexico to repatriate 100 Venezuelans back to their origin spot in Mexico. They were going back and forth to repatriate these 100 Venezuelans a day, and then the White House nixed it. So there was an agreement in place. He told me that it's a majority of Venezuelans coming through El Paso, and they're getting 1,300 people a day. The agreement was to send 100 of those 1,300 back, but the White House nixed it yesterday. So what is the White House doing about all of this? Is it getting in the way of potential agreements to send people back?
Absolutely, and I don't understand it. I don't know who's running things at this White House, but they have not only pursued open border policies, but they've encouraged these immigrants to make this journey. They're helping prop up these nonprofits like Catholic Charities that are on the border, welcoming these people, putting them up in hotels. If I had one complaint of my Republican governors, it's that we waited too long to start this new practice. I wish we'd have done this a year ago, but I'm happy it's happening now, because I think that these East Coast and Chicago type places that start to receive these influxes of immigrants will be forced to make a change in their policy and how they address this. But you're going to start seeing in places like Chicago and New York what we've seen at the Texas border for the last year and a half, and it's a crisis.
Unbelievable. What are you thinking? It's like 6,000 or 7,000 people a day overall, right? I mean, I'm talking about 1,300 Venezuelans coming in every day just in El Paso. This source last night told me we are getting run over. That's his quote, not mine. We are run over by all of these people. They don't have the capacity to put them anywhere.
The American people have no idea how bad it really is,
I know.
And I hope that they start waking up. And I can't imagine that people will be running to the airport in Martha's Vineyard to welcome them. So that will be interesting to see over these next few days.
Well, let's talk about the overall agenda. The president is pushing these expensive electric vehicles. You may have just heard my conversation with Cheryl. He's pushing these EVs at the Detroit Auto Show now. Even as Americans are continuing to face sky-high inflation, here's Biden and the economy yesterday. Watch.
Now we're choosing to build a better America. An America that's confronting the climate crisis, with America's workers leading the way. We're rebuilding an economy, a clean energy economy, and we're doing it from the bottom up and the middle out.
Yeah, I wonder how that played out in Detroit, the auto king of the country. Your thoughts?
You know, his message that we're trying to build a better America, you don't do that with open borders. You don't do that with moving to an energy process that China controls today, moving away from energy independence, which is what this president has done. It has killed jobs across this nation, and it has played into the hands of countries like Russia and especially China, who want us to be reliant on foreign energy. You see how that's working in Europe today after their addiction to Russian energy. We don't need to go the route of Europe and be addicted to this concept of foreign energy. It's crazy. The American people cannot afford electric cars, and places like California are unable to charge them.
Yeah. Well, Congressman, I'm glad you brought up China. We cover China a lot on this program, and I know that you are calling on the CIA director, William Burns, to address his, quote, strong ties to the Chinese Communist Party while working as the president of the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Congressman, give us the scoop here. What is Burns doing?
So while he was president, we have learned in recent weeks that up to or over 20 some odd Communist Party Chinese were working for this think tank. You know, they influenced foreign policy. We believe, and we've been told, that they were working on grants that relate to nuclear warfare. And we want to know, we members of Congress, Mike Rogers, head of Armed Services, and myself, have some very serious questions about just how much he knew, what kind of positions these Chinese have, what kind of infiltration they have made at Carnegie. Are they accepting foreign contributions from the Chinese? You know, I can't get answers to questions like that when I ask these green groups or I ask Carnegie, who are your donors outside of the United States? They don't have to legally tell me that, which is something I believe should change. But for him to not know that the Chinese had infiltrated this organization and now he's head of the CIA, is he up to the task of making sure that the Chinese are not operating a massive espionage network through our nation if he couldn't even uncover it there at Carnegie? So these are just very simple questions I suspect I won't get answers to until Republicans control the House.
Congressman, this is just outrageous, okay? We talk about this all the time, of the president himself being compromised because of the tens of millions of dollars he and his family have taken in. How is he going to give us a real independent policy as it relates to China, as the CCP is trying to overtake the U.S. as the #1 superpower? And now you've got the CIA director with potential ties in terms of monetary ties. We don't know. How do we not know if the CCP is giving grants and donations to the CIA? That's crazy.
It's totally crazy. And if it weren't for all the other crazy things I've seen in the last year and a half, I probably wouldn't believe it. But we have some very specific questions that I outlined in that letter. I hope to have a response, but it is totally crazy that the head of the CIA came from an organization that employed Communist Chinese Party members that were not on his radar, as he alleged in his testimony to the Senate. Yeah.
Meanwhile, for 4 years, we're hearing about Russia, and putting China in the backdrop. Meanwhile, that's the #1 adversary. Congressman, it's good to see you. Real quick before you go, on financial services, do you believe we're in a recession right now? You're on the committee. You're on the Financial Services Committee, and we got a Fed meeting next week.
Absolutely, and I believe we have a border crisis. I believe we've got a lot of problems this White House refuses to acknowledge.
All right, we are looking at a bus right now on the